Hey YouTube, this is PrimetimePokemon. In this video, I will be reviewing and then giving away the Solar Strike Plasma Blast theme deck. This is the second theme deck from the Plasma Blast set that I've reviewed, and then I'm going to give this deck away as well. And the Solar Strike theme deck is a Water and Fire type theme deck. And if you're interested in the giveaway, towards the end of this video, I will say how to enter that giveaway and then show the complete rules to entry as well. So I'll read the back of the box here, and then I'll show what you get if you do win this giveaway, and then I'll go into my review of the theme deck. And I actually bought this theme deck from Target. Theme decks are usually $11.99. So it says, Solar Strike theme deck. Your triumphs will be dazzling. The valiant sun Pokemon, Volcarona, commands the battlefield in the Solar Strike theme deck, as it torments your opponents with the Leech Life attack and calls reinforcements with Solar Transporter. Glalie and Ursaring move into position for their own fiendish offensive, and Blastoise's Deluge ability ensures your attacks have the energy they need. It won't be long before your foes are blinded by your brilliance. So if you do win this theme deck, you'll get the 60 card deck, the checklist, the coins, the playmat, code card for the theme deck, the deck box, and the damage counters. And here's a look at the cards that are in the theme deck. And I've already opened the theme deck just so I could organize the cards. Again, this is a Water and Fire type theme deck. The other theme deck from this set, Mind Wipe, is a Psychic and Grass type theme deck. So I'll open this up here. I can show you everything that I mentioned you'll get. Here's the playmat. Here is the code card to unlock the entire theme deck. Here's the deck box with the cards in it. Here's the coin, damage counters, and special condition markers. There's a checklist here. I'll put the plastic off to the side for now. I'll get to the review. Volcarona is on the deck box art. Okay, so on to the review part. The first card that you see will be a 3-2 line of Larvesta and Volcarona. So Volcarona is a fire type, 70 HP basic, 2 moves. Flare does 10 damage, and then Ember does 30 damage. However, you have to discard an energy attached to this Pokemon when you use Ember. So I prefer to use Flare and then evolve Larvesta into Volcarona. So there's 3 Larvesta. Volcarona, as you can tell, is a Team Plasma Pokemon card. You can tell that by the blue borders on the card. And on the back of this deck box, it talks about Leech Life on Volcarona, so I'll take a hard look at that move. But Volcarona, 100 HP in a stage 1, so above average. 2 moves, Solar Transporter, requires 1 colorless energy card, and it says to reveal the top 5 cards of your deck and put all Team Plasma cards you find there into your hand. Discard the other cards. So it's a good way, if you have a Team Plasma strong deck, it's a good way to get those cards into your hand. And then Leech Life does 50 damage for 3 energy cards, and it says heal from this Pokemon the same amount of damage you did to the defending Pokemon. So what I would want to do after looking at Larvesta and Volcarona, I'd probably want to set up Larvesta and Volcarona on the bench, get 3 energy cards on Volcarona, and then move it into the active Pokemon spot, probably as a second Pokemon that I put into that spot. When I do that, I can then use Leech Life every turn, and then hopefully Volcarona will be in the active Pokemon spot for several turns, and while Volcarona is stalling in the active Pokemon spot, you can set up the rest of your bench Pokemon. And there is the special holographic patterned Volcarona that is on the outside of the theme deck box when you buy it in the display window. Next is a water type Pokemon. There's a line of Squirtle, Wartortle, and Blastoise, a 3-2-1. Little low HP on Squirtle, 50 HP, but it does have 2 moves. Bubble paralyzes the defending Pokemon if you get a heads. We flip a coin, and then Water Gun does 20 damage. So I'd probably give this a 2 out of 5 rating if I was rating it on my blog. Wartortle, another Pokemon that's a little lower HP. Bubble again paralyzes the defending Pokemon if you get a head, so same move as Squirtle. And then Double Spin does 30 damage times the number of heads you get when you flip 2 coins. So possibly it can do 60 damage. So there's 2 cards I wouldn't want to use in this line. See if Blastoise's Deluge ability makes up for it, and this ability was mentioned on the back of this theme deck box. So 140 HP for Blastoise, which is a good HP. It makes up for the low HPs of Wartortle and Squirtle. But Deluge says as often as you like during your turn, you may attach a water energy card from your hand to one of your Pokemon. So just foreshadowing to the trainers in this deck, you're going to want to have trainers in the deck that get a lot of energy cards into your hand. You're going to want to make sure to have a lot of energy cards in your deck. That way you can always have energy cards in your hand, and you can attach water energy cards pretty much every turn to your Pokemon. And then Hydro Pump does 60 damage for 4 colorless energy cards, so you can really use Blastoise in any deck. And then it does 10 more damage for each water energy attached to this Pokemon. So if you use it in a colorless or in a random type deck, it can do 60 damage. If you use it in an all water type deck, it could do 100 damage per turn. I do think Deluge is a very good ability, so I'd probably even do like a 2-1-1 line of Squirtle, Wartortle, and Blastoise. And I would probably keep Blastoise on the bench most of the game. Next, there is one Suicune, basic Pokemon card, 100 HP. Its ability is called Safeguard. It prevents all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon by Pokemon EX. So having this card on your bench might prevent your opponent from moving an EX card from their bench into the active Pokemon spot, or even prevent your opponent from moving an EX card from their hand to their bench. And then Aurora Beam does do above average damage. So what I would do with this card would be put it on the bench, use it for its ability, but at the same time attach 3 energy cards to it, so if you have to move this card to the active Pokemon spot, you can use Aurora Beam right away. So I would remove 2 of the cards out of the Blastoise line and then possibly add 2 more Suicunes to this deck. Next is a line of Snorunt, Glalie, and Frostlass, 3-2-1. So Snorunt, 60 HP, and has 2 moves. The first move puts the defending Pokemon to sleep. The second move does 20 damage, so I say that's a solid starter Pokemon. 3 of those. And then a Team Plasma Glalie, 100 HP. 2 moves, Powder Snow does 30 damage and puts the defending Pokemon to sleep. And then Reflect Energy does 60 damage and says to move a water energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. So I don't necessarily like Reflect Energy as much, but I do like Powder Snow. So if Snorunt's in the active Pokemon spot and then I go to Glalie, I'd probably stick with Powder Snow, unless the 60 damage would knock out the defending Pokemon. And then Frostlass, there's just one Frostlass in the deck. Oh, I take that back. Glalie to Frostlass, Snorunt, Glalie. Oh, I see. Snorunt evolves into both Glalie and into Frostlass. So there's 3 Snorunt, 2 Glalie, and 1 Frostlass. So a 3-3 line. So Frostlass, 90 HP, a little lower HP than Glalie, but it does have an ability called Cursed Glare, and it says as long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, your opponent can't attach any special energy cards from his or her hand to his or her Pokemon. So if your opponent depends heavily on plasma energy cards, Frostlass can definitely stop their strategy. And then Blizzard does 30 damage for 2 energy cards, and it does 10 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So I definitely like both Frostlass and Glalie. So I probably keep the line just the way it is. I actually think it's a pretty good line. And again, that's 3 Snorunt and then 1 each. 1 Frostlass, 2 Glalie. And again, Snorunt can evolve into either Glalie or Frostlass. Okay, so now we have a 2-2 line of Remoraid and Octillery. 60 HP for Remoraid, and it can do 20 damage using Bubble Beam. And it also can paralyze the defending Pokemon if you get a heads when you flip a coin. So it's a decent starter Pokemon. Octillery is another Team Plasma, and if you've watched my Mind Wipe deck, you'll know that that deck is built on countering Team Plasma cards. This deck includes mostly Team Plasma cards. So Octillery, 90 HP. Sharpshooting does 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So Octillery works well with Frostlass's Blizzard move. Both of them spread damage, or at least Sharpshooting can attack any of your opponent's Pokemon. And then Bubble Beam does 40 damage, plus it defends the defending Pokemon. It paralyzes the defending Pokemon if you get a heads when you flip a coin. So 2 of those. And then Lapras. There are 2 Laprases in the deck. 100 HP, so above average HP. Cleanse Away heals 30 damage from each of your bench Pokemon. So that would be the move that Lapras should be used for. And it can replace potions almost, just because Lapras does have a pretty high HP for basic, and its retreat cost is only 2. So you can put 2 energy cards on it, keep it on the bench, and then move it into the active Pokemon spot a little later in the game. And if you have 4 Pokemon on your bench that have damage on them, this Cleanse Away move would take the place of 4 Potion Trainer cards. And then Surf does do above average damage, probably more average damage for 4 energy cards. It does 70 damage. I wouldn't put 4 energy cards on a basic Pokemon. I would just stick to Cleanse Away. Next, there is a Ducklet, and there's 2 of those. Ducklet, another basic water type Pokemon, 60 HP, and Splatter is its only move, and it does 20 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So Ducklet, Frostlass, and then Octillery all do spread damage type moves. So those 3 cards work very well together. And then there's a colorless Pokemon, Teddiursa and Ursaring. And there are 2-2. So there's 2 Teddiursa and 2 Ursaring's in the deck. Teddiursa, surprisingly high HP, 70. Only 1 move though. Fury Swipes does 10 damage times the number of heads you get when you flip 3 coins. So it potentially can do 30 damage. I probably wouldn't use this card in the active Pokemon spot without evolving it first into Ursaring. 130 HP, so good HP for a Stage 1 Pokemon card. And Adrenalash does 50 damage for 3 energy cards, but during your next turn, each of this Pokemon's attacks does 50 more damage. So, Strength, if you have 4 energy cards on it, can actually do 130 damage if you use Adrenaline first. So you do 50 damage plus 130 would be 180 over 2 moves. Whereas if you use Strength 2 times in a row, it will only be 160 damage. So that's a good card. It'll just take a little while to set up. But with Blastoise's Deluge, you should be able to set up most of your water Pokemon, and then you can move 1 energy card per turn from your hand onto Ursaring. So that's it for the Pokemon. Just to summarize the amount of Pokemon, it looks like almost all the Pokemon in this deck are water type. there are 11 water type Pokemon, 2 colorless, and then 2 fire. So on to the trainers here. There are 2 Charin. It allows you to draw 3 cards. So if you're attaching a lot of energy cards, you're going to have a lot of cards in your hand. Energy retrieval. This allows you to move 2 energy cards from your discard pile and put them into your hand. So if one of your Pokemon that has a high energy card attack cost, then if that Pokemon gets knocked out, this card will be very nice to use to pull back some of those energy cards from the discard pile and put them back into your hand. Energy Search allows you to get energy cards from your deck instead of your discard pile. Pokemon Catcher is a very popular trainer card, and it allows you to switch your opponent's active Pokemon with one of his or her bench Pokemon. So if they have any weak basic Pokemon on their bench, you can use this card and basically move it into the active Pokemon spot and then attack it and hopefully knock it out within a turn or two. You'd want to look for low HP Pokemon that have high retreat costs. That would be the best type of Pokemon to move into the active Pokemon spot. And then there's an Ultra Ball. There's just one Ultra Ball. It says to discard 2 cards from your hand and then search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. I would use something other than this. I'd probably use like a Pokemon Communications Trainer, that type of thing. And then there's a Professor Juniper. Discard your hand and draw 7 cards. So this card could be used with the energy retrieval. You might have to discard some energy cards before you can draw 7 new cards, and energy retrieval would get those cards back out of your discard pile. And then there's a Team Plasma item card, reversal trigger. 2 of those. Says when the Team Plasma Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, search your deck for a card and put it into your hand. So if you do have a Team Plasma card in the active Pokemon spot, you might as well attach one of these item cards to it. That way you can draw another card. Not draw another card, but get another Pokemon into your hand if that Pokemon does get knocked out. And then like I mentioned, there's mostly water type Pokemon in this deck, and Volcarona and Larvesta, the only 2 fire type Pokemon in this deck, require some colorless energy cards, so that's why it's mostly water energy cards in this deck, 12 to be exact, and only 6 fire energy cards. So overall, I would say between the 2 Plasma Blast theme decks, Mind Wipe and Solar Strike, I would actually suggest the Mind Wipe deck over this deck, but I still wouldn't say this deck is bad overall. I just would say there's not any cards that really impress me at all. Volcarona doesn't do as much for me as Genesect does from the other theme deck from this set. I do like how some of these cards do spread damage, but a couple of the lines here I'm not too high on, like the Squirtle, Wartortle, Blastoise. I like Blastoise quite a bit, but Squirtle and Wartortle don't do too much for me. And a couple of these just don't do that much for me. Especially the trainers. I'd probably put a couple of Caitlins in here, that type of thing. I'd probably get that Ultra Ball out of there. But just for a beginner playing the TCG, I think this theme deck is definitely pretty good. So that sums up my review. As always, I'll be giving this theme deck away. Make sure and check the video description for complete rules to entry. Basically, you have to subscribe to my YouTube channel, like this video, and follow me on my blog. Once you've done those 3 things, just comment in the comment section of this video saying you'd like to enter, and in a couple of weeks I'll post a video announcing the winner. So good luck to everyone. Make sure and check out all the links in the video description below before you go. My blog, Facebook, and Twitter links. And stay tuned for more videos. Thank you.